Lily Madwhip Must Die, Chapter 4, A Trip to the Pit. Let's talk about last night. Director O'Toole adjusts the position of the little golden swan statuette on her desk. There's another swan in a childish watercolor she has framed and hung up on her wall. She has a thing for swans. I don't even need Pashgar to tell me this. What he does tell me, though, is that they're supposed to symbolize what all ugly ducklings turn into. I should introduce her to my old elementary school principal, Mr. Longbow. He was obsessed with eagles. I wonder what ugly eagles turn into. Maybe the two of them would hit it off since they both like birds so much. On the other hand, they might fight over whether eagles or swans are better and become bitter rivals. Eventually, she manages to shift the little swan paperweight so that it's facing directly north or something. She nods at it and then looks at me. Her glasses are halfway down her nose, and she's got her chin tilted like she wants the glasses to fall right off for some reason. I just want to reach across the desk and push her glasses back up her nose. You shouldn't do that. People hate it when you stick your hands in their faces. I really don't have time for this, I tell her, feeling a strange sense of confidence. I wouldn't be sitting in her office except I got back last night around 1 in the morning and found it impossible to climb back up through my window. Believe me, I tried. After a few more tumbles off that air conditioner, I just had to suck it up and walk in the front door covered with scrapes and bruises, where I tried to convince Tyrone, the security guy working the front desk, that I had fallen out of my window while I was sleepwalking. He told me I was lucky I'd put my backpack on in my sleep, then wrote me up. I spent the rest of the night lying in a bed in a closed-off room called the box because it has no windows. They also had another night worker sit outside the door to make sure I didn't try to sneak out. They didn't have to worry. I was too busy thinking about the fact that Felix Clay is alive and apparently works at the very carnival where I think Furfur hid the cat doll that Meredith is in. They even took my backpack and my shoelaces for some reason, so I couldn't talk to Pashar, and my shoes wouldn't stay on. Poor Meredith. I never should have tried to bring my parents back. I shouldn't have done a lot of things, but trying to resurrect the dead and summoning demons were probably the lowest points in my life, and I'm only 12. Do you have somewhere to be? Director O'Toole asks, clutching her hands together and leaning forward. It's an aggressive move. She's got a PhD in child psychology. Leaning toward me is a way for her to try to make herself appear interested in what I have to say. Like she's a friend. She's not a friend, though. She's an adult. Adults aren't your friends. Their jobs are to make sure you don't do anything stupid and get yourself or others killed. They can only be friends with other adults. When an adult says they want to be your friend, they're either trying to get information from you or get you to climb in their van that is absolutely not full of puppies or candy, and for freak's sake, don't get in that van with them. The More You Know, by Lily Madwhip. I do have somewhere to be, actually. I'm super exhausted from not sleeping, and I still need to deal with this whole thing about visiting Samael, which I am absolutely dreading. When I finally got Pashar back in the morning, he said that I can actually do both at the same time by using the mark Hecate put on my arm. All of humanity visits the veil when you sleep. It is the canvas on which you paint with dreams. The difference between you, Lily, and others is that you bear the mark of Hecate. It binds you both body and mind to the void, makes your dreams linger, which means I can walk around and exist in some sort of semi-physical form there until I wake up. Something like that, he said, and even then, the things I make in my dreams remain, and I can come back to them the next time I sleep. Maybe what I should do is write all my notes down regarding finding Meredith in the Vale. Instead of leaving crazy-looking notes around my room, I share with 4 other girls where any one of them can find them and show them to Director O'Toole or one of the other adults, and suddenly, I'm being put in a long-sleeved jacket and shipped off to Sunnydale. I'll just leave everything in the Vale and comb through it all in my dreams. I just need some sleep, I tell the director. It's true, which makes it the perfect cover. She goes into a long lecture on how everybody at the foster center cares about me and wants to help me work through my problems. Yada, yada, yada. It's not worth writing down here. I think I even fall asleep at one point for about 10 seconds because I swear the entire room turns negative colors, like when you look at the roll of film your dad gets back with his photos from the photo developing place. Blues become orange and black becomes white. Director O'Toole turns a bluish color, like a giant smurf. Then I blink and everything is normal, except that she's looking at me funny and asking me if I heard what she had just said. I answer without thinking. You said yada yada yada. Her mouth turns into a little, slim line. You have always been such a nuisance. Her voice gets deeper and actually prickles my arm hairs. Excuse me? I say, wondering if I heard her right. Wasn't she just telling me about how everybody cares about me and yada yada yada? Now I've always been a nuisance? You're giving me conflicting signals here, lady. A knock comes from the door behind me. Someone opens it without waiting for the director to tell them to come in. They are going to be in so much trouble. She hates it when people knock and then enter without waiting to be told to come in. Pashkar and Abaddon just arrived, says a familiar voice. Director O'Toole nods at the mysterious but familiar sounding person. In that deep, ominous tone, she tells them, Thank you, Baratiel. Tell Hygiea and her crew to prepare to dismantle this pop-up. She's almost cleared her head and will be able to travel momentarily. I swivel around in my chair, but the door is closed just before I get to see the person who opened it. Wait, what is going on? I snap. Why did they just mention Pashtar and Abaddon? What do you think is happening? Director O'Toole asks. Her voice is now completely not like I'm used to. It's cold and deep and monotone, not a hint of her trying to feign care and concern for me like I'm used to. Where do you think you are right now, Lily? I turn back to the director and her office of swans. Several of the swans are looking at me. There's one in a painting on the wall by the window, which is really terrible placement for a painting if you ask me. Never put a painting right by a window like that. You should put it on a wall, across from a window, so the light catches it. The swan's beak is open, and it looks like it's making a silent honk. Or is that gooses that honk? I assume swans honk too, since they are related. I think maybe gooses are just inbred swans. Director O'Toole notices that her swan statue on her desk has opened its wings, as if to flap them at me, and somehow it throws off whatever delicate positioning she had moved it into. She scowls at it and hurriedly adjusts it again. This is absurd. I've got better things to do than babysit, but Pashar said a friendly face would help you reach lucidity faster. Who are you? I say, scrunching up my face as if making everything blurry with my eyes will help me see better. Actually, as hard as I feel my brow furrowing and my cheeks pulling up, squeezing my eyes so hard they should be shut, I still see everything in the room clear as day. It's like my eyes are hanging outside of my head or something. It's me, Lily. It's Dumas. To emphasize her point, Director O'Toole reaches up, digs her fingers into her face, one finger in each eye socket, her thumb in her mouth, and a finger on each cheek, and rips the flesh right off it like it's saran wrap. I squeak. I would have screamed if it weren't for the fact that underneath her face, flesh is pure white bony skull with empty eye sockets. The jaw grinds slightly. Because now it's clearly not the lady director, but Dumas, the angel of death and silence, sighs, placing the crumpled skin down in a pile on the desktop. Dumas! I am not happy to see him. Friendly face? What was Pashkar thinking? The last time I saw Dumas, he tried to reap me because I'd been stabbed to death. How long have I been asleep? Time works differently here. He shrugs. Below his bony chin, he's still Director O'Toole in her gaudy tweed business suit with the giant shoulder pads and clearly a grown lady's bosom. and I think I even recall she was wearing a matching skirt. I actually have to stop myself from leaning to my side to peek under the desk and confirm that Dumi is wearing a lady's tweed business skirt. I think he realizes what I'm thinking because he pulls the director's blonde hair off his skull as if it was a wig. According to the missive I received from Pashar, you passed out not long after returning to your room, just after this meeting you had with the woman who runs your orphanage. You apparently descended straight into a state of deep slumber. We had to wait for you to recuperate before your consciousness was sturdy enough to cross the veil. Right? I have no idea what any of that means, and he knows it. He's just saying stuff in his big words because he enjoys making me feel dumb. But I don't feel dumb. I just feel annoyed. Especially because I'm starting to remember that I already had this meeting with Director O'Toole, and I wasn't half as clever in the original meeting as I made myself be in this dream version of it. Also, I really wish Pashkar would have gotten somebody more pleasant and less creepy to meet me in the Vale than Dumas. Why does he go around with this skull face? He can control what people see, but he chooses to be Skeletor. I realize I'm staring at my feet as I think these things. I'm not wearing any shoes, just socks. I seem to recall kicking my shoes off before plopping into bed. They came off easy because I never got my laces back. I really hope none of the other girls try to write on my face with magic marker while I'm sleeping. When I look back up, Duma has changed into his ugly, brown robe that I think he made out of a potato sack. He gestures to the door. Shall we go meet the others? I follow Duma out of the director's office and straight into a meadow. Yes, a meadow. Because this is a dream. There's lots of people out here, including what looks like an otherwise normal horse, except it has a horn coming out of its head. I'd call it a unicorn, but I don't think unicorns are supposed to be dappled. I'll call it a unicorn anyway, because it's easier than coming up with a new word. Behind us, the door we came through hangs in the air like dreams do. A couple people in blue overalls carry a ladder past us and through the door. They don't even acknowledge me or Dumas. However, everyone else in the meadow stops talking and looks at us, except for the dappled unicorn thing. It can apparently talk and keeps on doing so. That's why I draw the line at letting them bridle me. It says to a guy in a tiny leopard print swimsuit like Europeans wear. When he doesn't laugh or respond to it in any way, it seems to get confused. What? Did I miss something? It looks around at everybody else and finally notices Dumas and me walking by. I stare at it because it's a freaking talking, dappled unicorn. It stares back with its weird eyes. Why do horses have such weird eyes anyway? Is this what normal people dream about? I ask Duma as we leave the unicorn and the rest of the people in the meadow and push through some bushes into a section of sidewalk in the middle of some city I'm unfamiliar with. The meadow and the sun and trees are instantly gone. Looking back, I can see a hint of it behind a pile of trash in the alley we just stepped out of. Dumas doesn't look at me. How would I know what normal people dream about? He asks in a tone that indicates he's not really asking a question. It's one of those rhetorical ones. I hate whoever invented rhetorical questions. I don't understand why long ago someone decided, I'm going to ask a question that I totally don't want the answer to. You literally work in dreams, I point out to him. The street is eerily quiet. There are no cars or people. As we walk down the sidewalk, I can see the tops of buildings in the distance, but they cut off about halfway down. There's nothing below them. They just float there on the horizon like clouds. Geez, this place is a real mess. Last time I was here, back when Smael ran things, and Hecate was in charge of everything, at least there was some order. Dumas stops suddenly, and I run straight into his bony butt. He turns and looks down at me with his empty sockets. I hate that I can feel the rough potato sack cloth on my cheek. Even though this is a dream, and I really hate how close he is to my face, and even though I clench my eyes shut, I can still see him. He points a single bony finger at me. First, I do not work in dreams. I work in the veil. That includes dreams, but it is not limited to them. And second, the veil is in finer shape than it's ever been. The area you traversed physically is one small part of an infinite vastness you can't possibly comprehend. It is a way station, a temple, a keep, and a prison all in one. It's still there where Hecate left it, until we decide it's no longer of any use to us, just like every other aspect of the veil. Are we interrupting something? I know that voice. Pashar! He's standing in the doorway of what looks like a restaurant. I assume that's what it is, because all the words are meaningless symbols, not runes, not hieroglyphics like mummies use, not fancy Chinese characters or any of that. They're literally blurry scribbles. It hurts my head to look at them. Thankfully, it doesn't hurt my head to look at Pashkar. He's dressed to the nines, as my mother liked to put it. That means he's wearing a business suit with a perfect knotted tie and a little handkerchief sticking out of his pocket. The suit is a dark blue and the tie is shiny yellow. Oh, it's gold. Of course it's gold. And as always, he's sporting some dark glasses that cover his eyes. But there's a bright light leaking out around the rims that are highlighting his forehead and cheeks. Hello, little ghost, he says to me with a smile. Behind him stands another angel. It's Abaddon. I know that because that angel Bart said Pashar and Abaddon were coming. I don't think I've ever seen Abaddon outside of that orange rubber radiation suit he wore last time we met, though. So I'm just trusting that this is him. He's wearing a suit like Pashkar, but his is a weird brownish orange color. It's more relaxed looking, like one of the guys in that Miami Vice show my dad used to watch. He doesn't have a tie on or a shirt with a collar, just what looks like a white t-shirt underneath his jacket. Facially, he looks rather square-jawed and dark-skinned. His nose is big and round. His eyes are black holes, kind of like Duma's, except not skull eyes, just normal eyes, but with nothing behind the lids. Bottomless pits. That's what they look like. Hi, Abby, I say to him with a wave. Abaddon grunts at me. He does not like that name. Duma whispers next to me. Pashkar smirks. Thank you, brother, for bringing her here. Duma bows. Of course, I am always at your disposal. He looks at me for a moment with his empty skull face. Preferably not as a babysitter in the future. He straightens up and walks off down the empty sidewalk and then turns and goes in some random building like he lives there. Maybe he does live there. I don't know. This is all weird to me. It suddenly dawns on me that we're about to go see Samael. I don't want to see Samael. I am terrified of Samael, even with Pashkar and Abaddon with me. Pashar says Samael was just doing his job, but he seemed straight up evil to me personally. He had sharp fang teeth, and he snapped Abaddon's arms like dry twigs and was ready to rip me to pieces all Freddy Krueger style. I'd like to see the job description he signed up for and where it was written. Experience terrorizing children as one of the requirements. Pashar can sense my fear. He kneels down and puts a hand on my shoulder that I can feel, even though this is a dream. That and Duma's potato sack butt. I could feel them both. That doesn't seem normal. Am I imagining feeling them? Or is my sense of touch here in my dream? What if Samael hurts me? Will I feel that too? I know you're scared, Pashkar says in his gentle voice, but there's nothing here that can harm you. Remember, you have more power here than even in the waking world. Besides, Samael is not evil. He has no reason to cause you suffering. That's a weird choice of word. Suffering? Last time I met Samael, a pair of headless monsters tried to kill me, and I ended up blowing up my house with my parents and Meredith inside. Does that count as suffering? So it's not that he has no reason to cause me suffering. It's that he already caused me suffering and has no reason to cause more, right? Abaddon clears his throat. It sounded like he said, bullshit. But he coughs a couple more times, so I guess he just had something in his throat. He sees me looking at him and looks away at nothing because there's freaking nothing here, but these buildings and sidewalks. Actually, some of the far away buildings have started to fade away. Everything in the distance is very dark, like a black fog is creeping in. Can't we just ask Raziel the secrets of the runes? I give Pashgar my patented, sad puppy dog eyes. Do I have my eyes in this dream? I didn't even consider whether I look like myself. I could look like a Rubik's Cube for all I know. Rubik's Cubes don't do puppy dog eyes well. Pashar is looking at Abaddon. His brow is furrowed in that not happy manner, but he looks back at me when I ask him about Raziel. Raziel is... He pauses, looking for a word. Recovering. From what? Is he sick? Maybe he ate too many gummy bears. That'll take anyone out. Let's just say that he suffered a bit of a breakdown from his time caught in that demon's trap. Let's just say, is Pashtar's way of avoiding saying the truth, which is that Raziel got stuck in my brain due to some snare that Furfur put in me when I let him possess me. And then, when he finally broke out, he basically melted the eyes of some poor policeman who was in the room trying to help me. Maybe melted is the wrong word, but the guy went blind. I guess that kind of thing can screw an angel up. But if that's true, what can eons of torturing and killing people like Samael has probably done in the name of testing the veil do to an angel? Abaddon glances at the sky. We should get going, he says, putting a hand to his forehead to shield his empty eye sockets from the glare of the dream sun. The time dilation isn't infinite, and the child will have to wake eventually. I don't want to go, I whisper to Pashgar. Hold my hand, he says. I do. His hand is warm because of course it is. I feel suddenly safe, like being wrapped in a big blanket when there are monsters under the bed. Abaddon steps toward me and shoves the sleeves of his orange-brown jacket up. His arms are covered with spiraling tattoos. They seem to move across his skin. I watch his snaky-looking tattoos move like grass in a strong wind. While I'm mesmerized, he flicks his wrists and the ground around us rumbles up, forming 4 walls. We're suddenly enclosed in a box. It's dark except for slivers of light coming out around the rims of Pashar's glasses. Going down, Abby says. I hope he doesn't find out I thought of him as Abby just now. Suddenly we're moving. It's like we're in an elevator, except there's no lights anymore, and just this overwhelming sound of rumbling like an earthquake. I think we're dropping, but I don't feel the sense of it in my head, probably because I'm asleep. Pashar is squeezing my hand gently to comfort me. Keep your eyes on the floor, he tells me over the din of the rumbling. I look at where I figure my socks must be, and suddenly there they are. The whole room is lit up. I want to look up, but I realize the light is because Pashar took off his glasses, and if I look at him, I'll go blind like that police officer. So I just wiggle my toes and wonder if I have a pair of socks for real that match these ones in my dream. They have turtles on them. Little, green, box turtles. There's a loud crash, and the rumbling stops. We're here, Abaddon says. I hear his wrists make crick sounds as he flicks them, and suddenly the wall in front of us crumbles away, and we're bathed in red light. Not like a creepy red light. It's like a red glow that fills everything and makes the room look pink. The bright light from inside our elevator room thing disappears as Pashar puts his glasses back on. Ahead of us is a hallway made of stone. It's actually pretty wide for a hallway and has pillars every now and then with torches like in a medieval castle. There's doors all down the hall, but they all look the same, not like the hallways of doors in Hecate's place. Welcome to the pit, says Abaddon. Pashar starts to step out of the elevator. He pulls on my hand, then stops when I refuse to move with him. Isn't the pit just another word for hell? I ask. Did you actually bring me to hell? I'm in hell? Abaddon looks a little offended by my question. He frowns and turns to look at Pashar. Pashar speaks for him. The pit is many things, and yes, that place is one of them. But like everything in the Vale, there is so much more here than that. the pit as a whole is a place of contemplation, penance, and rehabilitation. It's a place of healing, Abaddon says, and I am so glad he does, because that simple sentence makes so much more sense than whatever it was Pashar said. I sigh, okay, and then let him lead me out of the stone, tomb, elevator room. Abaddon leads us. He walks down the hall, glancing at certain doors, ignoring others, until he gets to one just like all the rest. Unremarkable, unlabeled, just a plain stone door with no handle or knob. He looks at Pashar again, then at me, then goes up to the door and holds his hands up. Using the thumb and index finger of each hand, he makes a square, then a matching square appears in the door in front of him. He moves his hands apart, and the hole in the door widens to match it. That is such a cool trick. It almost makes me want to be Abaddon's totem bearer. I wonder if he even has a totem. I'm happy with Pashar, but rock molding seems like a pretty useful skill too. Samael, Abby says into the hole, it is Abaddon. With me is Pashar and his totem bearer. We need to speak to you. Will you receive us, brother? Out of the hole comes a voice that makes it feel like the blood in my veins is turning to cottage cheese. The horrifyingly familiar voice of Samael. Do I have a choice? You always have a choice, Sam, says Pashar. Come in then. Abaddon flicks his wrists in opposite directions, and the hole in the door becomes the door. I mean, the door becomes the hole. Basically, the door goes poof. No smoke or anything. It just widens until it's all whole. I'm expecting the inside of the room to be a dark cell, like a square cave with no lights or furniture. It's not. It's actually more of a circular room. There's no torches, but the floor seems to be a giant light, and it's radiating up, lighting the whole room from below with a blue-white light. In the center of the room is a table. The legs to it blend into the floor, glowing at the bottom. It looks like the room grew this strange, table-shaped mushroom. Music is coming from somewhere. Maybe the walls? It seems to be everywhere, even though I didn't hear it when we were out in the hall. I didn't see the lights either. It's like we walked through this black curtain when we went through the hole where the door used to be. The song that's playing sounds like the kind of music we'd be tortured with every time we went to visit my Nana. It's called chamber music, I think. No words, just lots of brass, string, and percussion instruments. I hide behind Pashjar. He reaches back to tussle my hair. Samael is sitting on the table. He's sitting crisscross applesauce in one of those toga robe things they always show angels wearing in old paintings. He still looks the same as the last time I saw him, pale-skinned, white hair that's slicked back like a stock trader. His eyes are closed, but he's facing us, and I feel like he can sense us. I'm a little jealous that he can close his eyes and not have to see everything right now. Pashkar approaches but stops, several feet short of the table, in Samael's reach, I imagine. You look well, Sam. I feel well. Samael opens his eyes and starts to smile, then stops. His eyes turn toward me. He stares. Why is he in a jail cell if he's not evil? I whisper to Abaddon. These chambers are for meditation and reflectance, Abaddon says quietly, gesturing at the floor. The light soothes. The silence calms. The table looks uncomfortable. Samael uncrosses his legs. I do not need comfort. All that I require is peace of mind before returning to my duties. He hops down off the table and stretches his arms over his head. Pashkar steps back 2 steps. Abaddon's hands twitch by his sides. They sure aren't acting like everything's perfectly okay, and I get the really bad feeling that Samael isn't just a guy who is doing his job. I think he liked it. I think he loved it. He keeps staring at me. I wish he'd stop. I look away, but the room's pretty empty except for him and the glowing table, so I always end up back looking at him. He opens his mouth a little. His teeth are still pointy. Why would they let him keep pointy? Teeth? Can't they give him new teeth? Pointy fang teeth just scream evil. What exactly are his duties? I ask. Samael's lips curl up into a grin. Please make him stop smiling. I am Samael the Assessor. He does a slight bow as he says this. I test humanity to prove its worth. Who better to test the veil than the one who created it? Abaddon says coldly. I can see his fingers tensing. The bones in his knuckles are pressed tight against his skin so that I can almost see them. Samael brushes his toga robe. Indeed. But obviously you've stripped me of that service and given it to... who? Cad? Vasiaria, maybe. Vasiaria, in particular, has often shown a fascination for humanity that almost rivals your own, brother. Duma has taken over your charge. Samael stiffens and looks at me with surprise. Duma? Why on earth would you let that stick in the mud handle such a... He catches himself. The shock turns back into whatever it is where you don't show any emotion. Such a complex responsibility. And who is taking over his duties? Will you put me again in the robes of Reaper? Am I to be his venom once more? He licks his lips slowly, running his tongue across his pointy teeth. I feel my arm hairs prickle so hard they want to launch off my body like porcupine quills. Abaddon looks about as on edge as I feel. His face is scrunched up into a knot. His eyes are squinting so hard that if he had eyeballs, they'd probably be crushed. I can see some of the veins jutting out on his neck. There's squirming coming out from under the sleeves of his jacket, and I realize the tattoos on his arms are doing their webbing dancy thing that they did when he used his powers to make the elevator that brought us here. Pashar seems unaware of how tense Abaddon is. There are others at work, Sam. Don't worry. Sorail and Azrael have stepped up. Believe me, there are plenty of us trained in the handling of that department. Yada yada yada. They start going on about other angels who I've never heard of before, except for Gargamel's cat from the Smurfs. I didn't know he was an angel. Anyway, this is a nice reunion and all, but it's not what we're here for. I cough to try to get Pascar's attention. He doesn't respond, so I cough again. Abaddon looks at me. I think he thinks I'm choking, so I shake my head and wave at him to indicate that I'm okay. Finally, I can't take it anymore. We need to ask about runes before I wake up. I remind them. Samael smiles at me, but it's not a sincere smile. It's one of those smiles people make where they are thinking about ripping your head off and mounting it on their wall, but they're trying to pretend to like you, or at the very least, not hate you. Runes, you say? He frumples his mouth up and casts a glance at nothing in particular. I know of that subject. Yes, yes, I will talk to you about runes. Abaddon makes a very loud sigh. I see his hands unclench and his knuckles unwhiten. Excellent, Pashar says, also breathing a quieter sigh, or relief. We need to know. No, Samael snaps, casting a quick look at Pashar and Abaddon together. Not you. His head slowly turns on its neck in my direction. I expect there to be a creaking noise, but there's just the sound of Abaddon's knuckles cracking as they tense up again. You, he says, staring down at me. I will talk only to you.